YouTube, I've got some sickening true crime stories for you today. If you were in the company of Beelzebub and all his hellish creatures, that would be like a picnic in comparison to what these ladies have done. But before I get to the eerie, disgusting, ghastly details, let me quickly announce that all my videos are now on Spotify. You guys know I have multiple YouTube channels. They're still there, nothing changes. But if you want to see my videos all in one place, on one hub, the Spotify link is in the description. Spotify also now has video, so go check it out. On October the 6th, 2011, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at 1:56 p.m., police were alerted to South 7th Street. They were met with Annette Morales Rodriguez, who stated that she had just given stillbirth to a child in the shower. Both Annette and the placenta were taken to St. Francis Hospital. At the hospital, Annette spoke with police and she told them that at 12:30 p.m. she felt abdominal pain whilst taking a shower. She said that she started to bleed from her vaginal area and then she could see a head popping out as her vagina opened. She went to the living room and gave birth to a child. She realized the baby wasn't breathing, so she called 911 and at the time told the fire department she didn't know she was pregnant. The next day, on October the 7th, an autopsy was done and the placenta was examined. This autopsy was done by the Milwaukee County Coroner's Office and they determined that the baby was not of a natural birth. The mother's uterus was attached to the baby and had been cut out by force. There was also parts of the ovaries attached to the uterus and placenta. The baby was 38 to 42 weeks in development when it died. The medical examiner concluded that the baby died as a result of the mother's death. Yes, what does that even mean? If the mother has died, then who's Annette? Annette claims this baby is hers, but the uterus wasn't hers. The placenta wasn't hers. What on earth is going on? A medical evaluation was then completed on Annette, where it was determined that she had not given birth. After the evaluation, Annette went to the bathroom and having come out, she said her vaginal area was bleeding. Police officers ran into the bathroom and they observed a large area on the floor full of blood. Annette was subsequently put into custody and taken to the emergency room. The doctors in the emergency room determined that Annette had superficial scratching on her vaginal walls. Annette was then taken to the police station where she was read her Miranda rights. Annette told police that her boyfriend wanted a son and she could not get pregnant via him. Annette told detectives that she had told her boyfriend she was pregnant and it was time to have the baby. And then she started to panic because she realized, I'm not pregnant. All of this was lies. I can't even begin to imagine why she would lie to her boyfriend. I don't even want to know what the situation is. But here's the thing. Life is all about decision making. Life is about remaining composed when under duress. What did she do? On October the 5th, 2011, she decided she was going to find a pregnant woman and she drove down to 13th Street a number of times. Now on 13th Street, I believe there's a clinic there where pregnant women go to, get a checkup and see how healthy the baby is. She had planned for 2 weeks to find a pregnant lady and make the baby hers. What kind of decision making is that? Then on the morning of October the 6th, 2011, she went out again looking for a pregnant woman. She drove in the area of Chase Avenue because she knew there was another clinic nearby that pregnant women went to. She then saw Maritza Ramirez Cruz, whom she had never met before, and offered her a ride. She told police as she's telling him this story that she did consider telling her boyfriend, hey, by the way, I'm not pregnant, but that was something she couldn't do. Maritza Ramirez Cruz accepted the ride, and Annette Morales waited for Maritza to come out of the clinic. She then drove Maritza to Walgreens on Chase Avenue to purchase nausea medicine. Then Annette told Maritza, hey, why don't we just go to my house quickly? I just need to go pick up a new pair of shoes. But of course, she used this as an excuse. For what, you may ask? Maritza also went into the house to use the bathroom, and when she came out, there's Annette. She's got a baseball bat to her hand, and she starts striking Maritza on the head. The bat hits her head. She falls back into the bathroom. Annette went after her, grabbed her, threw her into the living room, and repeatedly hit her with the bat on her head. Maritza broke her glasses, and she fell down, banging her head on the table. As Maritza's on the floor, Annette, she uses her knees to pin her hands down. She then gets her own hands and she strangles Maritza to death. Annette retrieved duct tape from her room, using it to bind Maritza's hands and feet, as well as placing pieces of the tape over her mouth and nose. She then placed a plastic bag over Maritza's head because blood was coming out of her mouth and nose. Now, up until this point, as sad as this is, you've all heard this before. You've all seen this before. An attacker attacks a victim, strangulation, there's some kind of murder weapon. This is all normal in the true crime storytelling. But then comes something that even I can't comprehend. Annette dragged Maritza to the hallway by the bathroom. She then took a knife and she cuts Maritza's abdomen. She cut Maritza at the bikini line, attempting to duplicate the process she had seen on TV depicting a cesarean section birth. Annette stated she cut her fingers while cutting the baby out of Maritza and showed the detectives the cuts on her hands. When Annette cut open Maritza, amniotic fluid came out. And as she cuts Maritza, she puts her hand in, she sees the womb, and she takes the baby out. She realizes as she has the baby in her hands that the baby is not breathing. Annette then cut the placenta out. Annette then dragged Maritza into the basement and concealed her body by the hot water heater. Annette then changed her bloody clothes and began cleaning the blood in the house. Annette wanted people to believe she was bleeding from the birth, so she took some of Maritza's blood and put it on her own thighs and vagina. She stated she did all this because her boyfriend wanted a baby boy and she could not get pregnant. Now just imagine you're there in that scene, right? You're Annette. Regardless of the problems going on, you've done as much as you can done, right? You lured this woman into your house. You knew what you wanted to do. But even then, even with the bat, right? Even when the lady's there on the floor, the fact that you had the mental, I don't think strength is the right word, but the fact that she mentally could go through with cutting the lady open and stealing a baby. Who steals a baby from the womb? Who does that? Like, I'm getting animated right now because I can't fucking believe it. Like, what are you doing? What kind of decision making is this? Detectives eventually went to the basement of the house and they found the body of Maritza and observed a gaping hole in her abdomen area. Maritza, of course, was deceased. Maritza's body was then taken to the same medical examiner and they determined Maritza had received blunt force trauma to her head, consistent with being hit by a baseball bat. She was also duct taped around the legs and hands, along with duct tape over the mouth and nose. A plastic bag was secured over the head of Maritza. To summarize the wounds, there were signs of asphyxiation in the body and signs of manual strangulation to the neck of Maritza, as there were nail marks on her neck and hemorrhage to the neck muscles. The abdomen of Maritza was cut open with a horizontal cut across the abdomen. The bowels of Maritza were exposed, her ovaries were removed, and her uterus had been cut out. Her fallopian tubes had also been cut out. I don't like to claim that this crime or that crime is better or worse than the other, because nobody really has a monopoly on crimes. I guess the only way you could have a monopoly is if you kill the most people, but even then, that's just a weird idea. But what in the blue motherfuck is this? Some of you don't like me cursing. What do you want me to do? What kind of what kind of person does this? This isn't like whether it's a man or a woman doing it. Who cuts someone's stomach open and steals a baby because they can't have a baby? And at this point, I've thought about it long enough when I was doing the research. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. Everything I've said in terms of my own opinion has just been off the cuff because what the fuck? And eventually, on December the 12th, 2012, Annette was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Gruesome crime that gained national attention.
And an emotional day in court. Jermont Terry live outside the courthouse to let us know what happened today. Jermont.
Carol and Mike, Annette Morales-Rodriguez will spend the rest of her life in prison with no chance of parole. That's the verdict, the sentence that came down today. And the victim's family says it brings some closure, but adds right now it's just impossible to forgive her for what she did. Convicted of killing a pregnant mother and her child, Annette Morales-Rodriguez is wheeled into court. Her defense trying to convince the judge she suffers from depression and deserved a chance for rehabilitation.
It was heinous beyond description.
In October 2011, Morales-Rodriguez faked her own pregnancy and befriended Maritza Ramirez-Cruz. She lured the pregnant mother into her Southside home where she beat her, choked her unconscious, and then cut the woman's unborn child from her stomach. Ramirez-Cruz and the child died.
Only God will forgive her, you know. I mean, it's hard, you know, everything she did, so.
The victim's family members were emotional in court today. Her husband told the court in Spanish how the murders have torn his family apart, adding the victim's 3 children, ages 7, 5, and 3, still ask questions.
Like most of the time, they're asking about mommy, where's mommy? They miss their mom a lot, yeah.
The defense wanted her to be eligible for parole in 26 years, but the judge decided due to the, quote, evil nature of the crimes.
I'm going to be sentencing Ms. Morales-Rodriguez to life in prison without the possibility for release.
We're pretty content, glad that this whole journey has ended to an end and we have some closure.
Now, after more than a year of silence, Annette Morales-Rodriguez spoke in court today, offering a brief apology. Ahead at 6, you will hear that apology and find out what the victim's family has to say about that apology. We'll have that angle new at 6. For now, on your side, live outside the courthouse, Jermont Terry. Today's TMJ4.
Yeah, really an unthinkable crime. Thank you, Jermont.
Now we move on to our second story. State police found Jamie Stice's body on April the 14th, 2011 in the state of Kentucky. Her throat had been cut and her wrists had been slit. Stice had been disemboweled and her baby boy had been cut from her body with a drywall knife. You're obviously starting to see a theme now on the kind of killers that we are talking about. You guys have seen Batman, The Dark Knight. There's a scene in there at the beginning where the banker says this town used to have a better class of criminal. For some reason, I know this isn't great, but how fucking classless is this?
Criminals in this town used to believe in things. Honor, respect.
This was after 33-year-old Kathy Coy arrived at the Bowling Green Medical Center with an infant which still had the umbilical cord and uterus and 2 ovaries attached to him. My God, what are these fucking stories? Let me repeat that. This woman, Kathy Coy, ends up going to a hospital. She's got a baby with her. She's got a uterus with her. She's got an umbilical cord with her. And she has some ovaries. It's as if she's ordering off some kind of fetal abduction menu. Yes, I'll get an ovaries over here. I'll get a child over here. I'll get an umbilical cord over there. Boss man, does that come with a bag of chips? What? Doctors quickly determined that Coy could not have given birth to the baby, and hospital personnel called police. Coy, who was a twice divorced mother of 2 teenagers, befriended Jamie Stice and another pregnant woman on Facebook. Coy told detectives that she had suffered a miscarriage before Stice's murder, a claim that detectives were never able to fully substantiate. The police learned that Coy had faked many pregnancies in the past and stalked other pregnant women going back years. Regarding the incident itself, Kathy Coy, she lured Stice into her car on the premise that the 2 women were going to obtain baby items on April the 13th. She used a stun gun to subdue Stice and drove her to the wooded area where police found her body. After Kathy stunned the expectant mother, she slit her wrists, cut the baby from her body, and brought the baby, the uterus, the ovaries, and the placenta to the hospital. When she was speaking to the police, Kathy confirmed she did have children of her own, and when the police asked her about the baby, she said, "Oh, I just bought this baby for $550. Police searched Kathy's home and her computer, finding links to 2 pregnant women on her Facebook page. Investigators found one of the women unharmed, and then police found the stun gun and 2 knives believed to have been used in the attack. Now, astonishingly, Isaiah Allen Stice Reynolds, the child, survived the horrific attack, even though he was born 5 weeks premature, and he currently lives with his father. Now, Eric Cogan, who was the court psychologist, was selected to conduct a review of Kathy. He said Kathy suffers from a mental illness. It was reported that Kathy had asked her teenage son to help her commit murder, but when he refused, she said she was just joking. She had told people she was pregnant and had been hatching a plan for months. She even stole a sonogram photo to help back her claim. Some of her friends, who the police spoke to, they said that she was desperate to prove to everybody that she was pregnant, and I guess nobody believed her. They also went on to say that she did this to show everybody that she was going to have the baby when it really wasn't her baby. Her neighbors in the city were all taken in by Kathy's baby scam. They said that she had been telling everyone that she was pregnant, and they had no reason to believe otherwise. They say the miracle in the whole thing is that the baby made it. Now, during the trial, they made a deal. They basically said to Kathy, okay, you know what? Plead guilty. We'll take your mentally ill defense into account, and to avoid the death penalty, you will spend the rest of your life in jail without the possibility of parole, which is what happened. As a man, right, I'm never going to fully understand pregnancies. Yeah, I'm a father myself. I've seen a woman go through a pregnancy, right? And all a man can do is just observe and help as much as he can. The hormonal changes, the emotional effects, the physical pain, right? A woman during these 9 months should be treated like a queen. A woman needs to be looked after. And the key point about pregnancies is the aftercare once the baby is born. They say it takes a village to raise a child. A support system is essential to the mother and the baby. I personally believe, the little that I know, that when postpartum depression occurs, one of the reasons could be a lack of support system. I say all this because I understand childbirth and I've gone through it. I've seen it. It's the most beautiful thing. So how in the sweet Mother Mary of TruRed's bollocks can a woman go to another woman and steal a baby? But how can you have the mindset to just go and cut a woman's stomach open, take the baby and think, oh yeah, here you go police, this is my baby. Here you go doctors, this is my baby. Oh yeah, like when say you're talking to your neighbors, oh by the way, I just had a baby girl. Like, what the fuck? You think anyone's gonna believe you? And even if they don't, what are you doing? But again, I don't have the words to convey this story in a mature manner. Now to our final story. Yes, third story. This is of 26-year-old Tiffany Hall, who in September 2006 in the state of Illinois struck her friend Jamila Tunstall, who was 23 at the time. She hit her on the head repeatedly with a table leg. As she's hitting Jamila is pushed into the bathtub. She then cuts Jamila's stomach open and steals the fetus. Tiffany was Jamila's best friend, and she was her babysitter. In the bathtub, Jamila eventually bled to death, and Tiffany then dumped the body. A few hours later, Tiffany told Illinois police that she had given birth to a stillborn child, but she refused to be examined at a hospital. 3 days later, Hall told the father of Jamila's children that Jamila wanted her to pick up the children and Jamila's car. Tiffany then drowned her 3 children in the same bathtub. She hid their dead bodies in a washer and dryer in the apartment. The victims were Demond Tunstall, age 7, Evan Tunstall, age 2, and Janella Tunstall, age 1. About a week after Jamila's death, Tiffany told her boyfriend what she had done. She said that she had killed her pregnant Fred to steal her unborn baby, and the boyfriend contacted police. James Gomrick, an attorney for Tiffany, told reporters that Tiffany had been found competent to stand trial, but she had an IQ in the 70. In 2008, Tiffany was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It's hard raising a child. It's a very taxing process, and for me, it's the job of a man to make it as easy as possible. But I say all this because I can't really comprehend what it's like for a woman to be pregnant. And I cannot comprehend what it's like for a woman to not get pregnant either. I understand as a man, women have a biological clock, and at times, it can weigh heavy in their mind. So again, I don't know what that feels like, but I think it's fair to say whether it be Annette or Kathy, so what if you can't get pregnant in this context? In this context, you killed the baby? Why? Oh, because I couldn't get pregnant. So fucking what? I can use my British slang and say this was just stupid, bruv. Or as I said in the beginning, meeting the devil and all his fantastical, deranged, can't even comprehend creatures is something I would rather do than have to read this shit that happens. To me, this isn't the work of the devil. This is far worse. Comment, tell me what you think.